Welcome, marvelous makers,
and art appreciators,
to the ArtSpace podcast,
brought to you by Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace,
located at 4601 Sheridan Road.
Pop on in to your favorite citrus-themed art gallery a lot.
Yes.
Do it a lot. We want to see you and your smiling faces, or frowns. Frowns are fine.
Yeah, we'll turn them upside down.
We'll try.
But I'm your host, Shelby Nesbitt.
And I'm Jake Hoy.
And today we are talking with Joe Szabo, who is a fabulous printmaker, which we'll get into that.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
And the monstrosity of a tech setup that we just went through.
Oh my gosh, guys. You have no idea what we just went through. I am sweating.
There were cords everywhere. There were tables flipped over, chairs.
So complicated. Electronics are not easy, people. They break. We found that out.
Yes.
But if you can hear us, that means we were able to fix it.
Yay. It better
If not,
be.
then you might not ever be listening to this. But
Either way, we're here. We're happy to be here.
yes.
And
we're podcasting,
yes.
baby.
like that attitude.
Yes. So,
All right.
Joe,
Yes.
how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a sunny day.
It's like
Beautiful
perfect
day,
weather,
yes.
right? Am I alone that like it's like cool but hot but sunny, but it's like the perfect temperature.
Yeah. I just put on like a long sleeve sweatshirt and just chill.
For those that are listening to this, not the day we're recording, which is impossible. It was Saturday, of May, the Saturday before this came out.
20th.
20th. Today's the 20th.
Wait, so this isn't live?
No.
Hopefully not.
So the camera crew is not coming.
Maybe hidden cameras.
Yes.
Be on guard.
All right. Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
But we're having fun today, and we're going to talk about some art.
Yes, we're going to talk some artwork with Joe.
There was not enough art talk on the last week's episode, probably, so we need to up our quota.
No, I think we had fun.
It was fun. I didn't say it wasn't fun. Very fun.
Gotcha.
We might top it today, though.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, a little more extra art talk.
Yes.
I'm your guy.
Awesome.
And I think you're the guy that I can talk artwork about forever because your printmaking style is just so fun, and you kind of like have ebbs and flows in the style itself, but you have a general style, and then you kind of move in your illustrative works as well. So
Thank you.
before we get into that, just kind of a quick question. How would you summarize your artistic style in general to other people?
So you pretty much kind of nailed it there. In terms of like an illustrative style.
Okay.
That's kind of the best way that I could describe my artwork. For me, my artwork, I always try to convey, some sort of story with what I have on the page. And a lot of that comes with that line quality that I have. So most of my work I do is going to be printmaking, relief prints. And with that, I'm able to convey that line quality very well. I also like doing, pen and ink, watercolor, of course, as you can see.
Yes. Your Drunky Kong and your toboggan trip, those are very, very colorful and beautiful.
Yes, they are.
So are those prints?
Yes,
Yeah?
they are.
Okay.
I guess I would consider those to be mixed media. So what these are, they're prints, right? So they're lino cut relief prints. And I start with just a black print. So you have the outline or the drawing of the image that I have. And then I actually go back into these images with watercolor to add that color. So it's another way to add color to prints. So, and if you're not familiar with printmaking in terms of color printmaking, there's a lot of ways to do it. One of the ways that you could do it is with reduction printmaking, and that's where you add layers and layers of color to the image until you get the final piece. And that process, it can be time consuming. Yep. Time consuming. It could be a painstaking process because the downside with the reduction print is that as you add each color, you add each layer, you got to take away more and more of that single plate. Now, there's you can also have multiple plates as well. So you can have the same plate, same image, but cut in a different way to add those layers.
So,
And-
sorry if I interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
The plate is what you're carving
Correct.
and then applying ink to.
Correct.
Right.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
when you're doing these, what was the name for this technique? Reduction.
Reduction.
So are you recarving it between printings?
Mhm.
Oh wow!
So you're taking more and more away out of that print.
I never knew that.
Because you're reducing.
Because I was picturing using multiple plates.
Right, and that actually is a form of
That's
doing
just-
the color printmaking. Yes,
Okay.
you're going to be adding other layers on top of each color. And while this process, I get to combine both worlds. I get to combine my love of printmaking and also using watercolor. And the cool thing about doing a watercolor is that each piece that I do is going to be slightly different. Whereas when you're doing the reduction prints, you make multiple copies of the edition, and they're all going to be the same for that edition. But these here, I can continue to make them, and they're all going to be slightly different in a sense. So you have one of them, it's going to be unique. Even if the color scheme is going to be the same, it's not exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can make Donkey Kong's tie blue in one if you wanted to. You can have color variants a lot more easier. You can customize things a little easier too. So
Right.
yeah, and then you don't have to deal with the pain in the butt that is registration. So registration, that's getting your multiple different plates that we were talking about, getting those colors to line up nicely.
Oh.
If it's off, then you'll just see that one color kind of popping out, and it's just like,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
annoying. It's
When you said registration, I was picturing like you have to like call somebody at the lino cut office in DC and be like, "Hey, I need to register Drunky Kong lino cut."
Oh, you didn't know that?
Oh,
that-
yes, I'll hold.
Yeah.
Oh, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee,
need that
hold music.
paperwork filed by tomorrow, or else you're not getting it.
40-minute wait to register Drunky Kong.
Yes, and registration is there's a lot of ways you can actually get your print to register properly. You can use registration pins or tabs. You can actually stick to your paper. Now, I've never personally used those. I've seen them used before. Other people will make some sort of a jig, actually, and this jig you can actually line up the plate that you carved into, and then you've actually added the ink to. And this jig has a slightly raised surface to allow you to set your paper in the same spot each time.
Oh boy.
So that's another way
Yeah.
to do it. Now, I don't know. I'm a simple man.
Yeah.
I learned a technique that I learned when I was in college was to use push pins. Just
Oh.
little thumbtacks.
Thumbtacks, yeah.
And you would tack the edges of the paper, a very teeny tiny little pinhole, and you would have those same holes in the actual plate that you carved. Now, each paper that you have, you're gonna basically make those pinholes for each one before you start printing. So therefore, every time you line it up, it should line up in the same spot. But there's always going to be a few pieces where the registration may not line up properly. Sometimes it could be perhaps if you didn't wait for the ink to dry long enough.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's a possibility it can shift, causing that registration to be off, which can be frustrating.
Yeah, or over inking, it'll cause it to kind of slide on the paper almost and shift those colors. There's so many. Printmaking, it's you really gotta love it to do it.
It is a journey.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
And like I'm not perfect.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm not perfect. In fact, I just made a post on my Instagram and my Facebook of a reduction print that I'm currently working on, and didn't go the way I wanted to.
Oh.
No.
Right? And and then the downside is once you take away layers in your block that you're carving out, you can't add it back.
Yeah.
So
That's a problem.
if a particular color did not lay out how I thought it would, it's like, well, I can't go back. But for something like that, I like to use that as a learning opportunity.
There you go.
And that's what I take it as. Sure, it can be frustrating, and I'll be sitting there cussing it out in my shop.
Yeah.
Like, that did not go how I planned it. But I'm going to take advantage of that and play around a little bit. So I may be going back into this current piece with a little bit of acrylic.
Ooh.
So another mixed media piece coming at you.
Nice.
But that's the reason why I do like watercolor. I feel like I can really control the paint the way I want it to, because I could gradually add some color, and you can even take some away if you do it quick enough.
Yes.
If you do it
Get
quick
a
enough.
little
All
dab.
right? There's a way you can erase a little bit of watercolor.
Did not know that.
It's got to be wet.
Yes.
Well, we're having a full-on nerd out over
Yes.
printmaking
Oh,
processes.
To all of our listeners,
Yes.
sorry if we put you to sleep.
Or you're welcome.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been wondering. Maybe you always wanted to know the details of it. I know I did.
And I mean, we're probably still going to talk about it more, but if you want to know more, Joe does teach classes at Lemon Street.
I certainly do.
You give off teacher vibes, I must say, and that's a compliment.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a weird compliment, but we'll
That's
go
not a
with
weird
it.
compliment.
Give off teacher
We love our
vibes.
teachers.
Oh, true. Yes, we do love our teachers.
I don't mind vibing like a teacher.
Okay.
I really enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. Now I'm not a teacher by trade, I guess you'd call it. And for my actual day job, I work at a warehouse as a trainer. So my job is to talk to people, train people, and teach people. So while doing that, I've really found like a niche that I really enjoy doing. And then I was given the opportunity by Shelby. She reached out. This was several months ago. This was last
It was
year.
a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
I met you at the Racing Art Museum. They did their Full Steam Ahead event, and we
Yes.
both had plates there that we were printing, and got to know you. And then
I don't know who the heck you were.
Yep. Nope. And I didn't know who the heck you were.
Yep,
And we just
yep.
rolled up and we're like, oh, Bagulkis, they taught us, and they, well, I wasn't taught by Bagulki, but heavily advised by them and
Oh, sure.
everything. So I was just like, yeah, so you're good people. And so, yeah. And then we became friends on Facebook, and out of nowhere, because I was taking on this administrative role here, and I didn't want to exclude that class from our roster. And I don't know, it was like, someone else can do this. Let me think about someone that I know in my Rolodex that I can contact about possibly wanting to do this. And I was like,
Did you have a real Rolodex?
I did not.
I have one.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't use it,
Yeah,
but I have it. It's dusty in my closet.
Woohoo.
Theoretical Rolodex.
Yes. I was going through my brain, and I'm just like, Joe seems like the type of guy he might want to teach, or at least try teaching. Like, I don't know, like, his approach to it, but his attitude seemed amazing towards printmaking in general. So I was like, seems like a perfect fit.
Teacher vibes, like I said.
Yeah, give it, I guess, teacher vibes. And so I just randomly messaged him on Facebook.
It
and-
was out of the blue.
Yeah. I was like, hey, I have this idea. I know we just met, but hi, do you want to teach a class?
And you know something wild about that is that, like, at that time I was thinking to myself, like, how can I take my artwork a step further? And then
Perspective.
literally seconds later, I get a message from Shelby.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Manifested.
Now
Magical.
the old Joe would have been like,
I don't
I
know.
already work. I already have a
Yeah.
job. I work a lot, and I want my weekends. But it's just something that I really enjoy doing, and
I can tell.
this is a great way for me to continue to explore my artwork and actually share it with other people. Because that's one of the things that I really want to do more, is get myself more involved in the community. We'll talk more later
Yeah.
about that.
We will.
And that's one of the things that, like, you know what, this is an awesome opportunity, and I really do thank you for
Oh,
giving me the shot
yes.
to teach classes here.
Yes, because I think going through that similar perspective of where I am now is starting off as an instructor, you get to see people fall in love with the medium that you're in love with, and it makes your heart just feel amazing. And sharing that information in the technique and seeing myself go through that process, I'm like, I mean, other people might like that too. So just ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. And so I'm glad you're in love with it too. And looking forward to more fun and more classes. I've sat in some of your classes, and you just have so much energy. So I appreciate that.
I try to.
Yes.
Well, we got some questions for you too.
Yes.
I wasn't told to be any questions.
Well, you're gonna have to just roll with it.
All right.
Let's see what you pull out of your butt.
Yeah.
All right. So, how did you first get into art, and what are some of your earliest art memories?
So, I've always been into art. For as long as I can remember, I mean, since I've been a kid, I've always loved just drawing, painting, coloring. And part of that was just because my family was always so supportive of it. Um, just growing up, like my grandparents, my parents always encouraged me to draw. Maybe it was just to keep me busy, which I'm pretty sure it was to keep me busy
Well,
because I think that I was the problem child when I was little. So like, hey, how can we keep little Joey from being a menace? Give him a crayon, and then magic happened after that. So, and there's a funny story. I'm not sure how true this is, but in kindergarten, they had an art project, I suppose. I think we had to draw something or color something, and mine happened to be a school bus.
Okay.
And what I remember, or what I've been told, is that when I drew this school bus, I actually added all 4 wheels.
Oh.
Right? So if you think about it, okay, yeah, bus has 4 wheels. But, for like most kids, they draw like a 2-dimensional side view. Now, mine wasn't like a 3D foreshortened school bus. It was still a side view, but I drew you could see the other wheel behind it. And, I mean, I don't know if that was just like a happy accident, like,
Put it in.
I was like, yeah, like, I guess it was just something that I just did, but dumb luck. Or maybe I was just a genius.
Yes.
When I was in kindergarten.
Savant.
Yes. We'll go with that one. I like that route.
Perspective is important.
Yeah. And then it all kind of blossomed from there. So yes, I mean, that's for an earliest memory. I mean, that's kind of what I have in terms of what kind of like art memories I got. And growing up, I always stuck with it. I loved the art classes when I was a kid growing up. And going back to my grandparents again, not sure if you guys recall this PBS special called The Imagination Station by Mark Kistler. So a memory of mine during the summers, we'd spend time at my grandparents. We'd had PBS on because what else would be on?
Yeah.
And Mark Kistler's Imagination Station would come on. And for those of you listening who don't know about Mark Kistler's Imagination Station, is that this wacky fellow with a mustache would have this show where he would have his big easel or his big drafting table and a big piece of paper, and he would teach people to draw in 3D. And a lot of his drawings were like abstract and fun illustrations. And he would teach like kids like words like shading, depth, foreshortening. That's a fun word that he would always use. And he would basically teach kids about art. And he'd do it. The camera would be just right on his page, and he would just start drawing different things. He'd be like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to draw a spaceship with a shark inside of it. And he would do something like that. And he would always be so animated. He would have voices and everything. And I was just glued to the TV. And I had my pad and paper, and I try to mimic what he would do. And he'd do this thing. You guys heard of the art attack?
Yep. I know that one.
He'd be on the page, and he'd go, uh-oh, what's happening? And he'd go, and he put his pen on top of his head like he was like a ninja. Yeah. And he'd go, art attack. And he'd go, draw. And he'd do like action lines. So, really... I mean, pretty animated fella. Yeah. I don't know if he's still doing
I don't know,
that.
But I think the best way to describe him is like the illustrative version of Bob Ross. He's
yes.
Yeah.
A little bit more goofy than Bob Ross. Yeah, but I mean, Bob Ross is pretty chill.
But yeah.
Bob Ross if he had like 5 coffees.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, there you go.
And he had a pen in his hand instead of a paintbrush. Yep.
So yeah, I mean that's for me, like that's what I love doing. Was watching him and trying to mimic that kind of style and make my goofy little illustrations and I was always big into like comics too. Now not like graphic novels and action comics like Marvel and DC and stuff, but like comic books like Garfield.
Oh yeah.
Oh okay, right? like the comics page of the newspaper.
Oh yeah. Garfield was a big one that I loved. I loved that comic strip. Interesting dynamic, lazy cat, dopey dog, and a dorky human, of course. And I started collecting those books, and I'd read them all the time. And then I discovered Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I can see some of that in your style a little too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
yeah. The
that's-
snowman. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is where, like, I feel like subconsciously, that's where my style started coming from, was because, like, I just loved reading those comics so much. Part of it was because I could relate a lot to Calvin in terms of, like, the imagination and the creativity. I did not have a stuffed tiger that came to life, but I mean, I just loved the adventures that they would go on, and it's just a wholesome comic.
Yeah.
And I think it was a cool thing that, like, Bill Waterson did was, like, he refused to, like, market and I don't know what you call it, like, make it mainstream.
Oh, like
Yeah.
going to merchandising.
Yeah, merchandising.
and,
So
yeah, like
big words.
full-on franchises and stuff. Yeah.
and he decided not to do that. And I think that says a lot, because that was his, and that was his alone. I mean, who knows what it could have been? Just like anything, you know. Sometimes it can go one way or the other, but that was a big impact for me.
Yeah, and I know he did smaller like publications, like he licensed it to that extent where you could do like collections of his novels and everything. Well, turn it into the running novels and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's weird because that concept isn't like, you can tell people kind of nab the concept vaguely of the whole my stuffed animal came to life, and saw how that got adapted into different things. So yeah, I feel like that would be like a weird timeline thing in terms of franchises if he let that happen.
Yeah.
Like where would we be today with that kind of thing? So yeah, weird to think,
right.
because
It's
it could
funny.
have been them over like Winnie the Pooh or something.
Yeah.
Could have dropped out or
Right.
something.
It-
Yeah.
I never read Calvin and Hobbes. I think I missed it a little bit. Like, I don't know when it was coming out exactly. But anyways,
I think 80, like late 80s.
yeah, I was
early
born in
90s.
1990, so I think I just missed it.
Doesn't
But
mean you can't start.
I should have. But like the thing I knew him from was like those bumper stickers. Like, I'm like, oh, that's the kid that pees on various logos and words.
Yeah.
But that must. I mean, he didn't do merchandising,
No, I
so
think
those
that
must
was
all be illegal.
Yeah, it's a stolen image. It's
Yeah.
in his
Jerks.
likeness, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. So
But, yeah.
naughty no.
Yeah, I missed out.
Aw. It's okay. You could still
I read the
join us.
comics all the time. It was funny because we just had last week we had Josh on, and we were talking about comics, and I think for a second there, I thought he was talking about like the comics page, but then he started talking about like superheroes
Yeah,
and stuff,
you're
and I'm
like,
like,
oh,
oh
no.
no, okay, other comics. It's funny that those, the same word means both, but
Yes.
Completely different.
yeah, I was into the comics page. I read all I had my favorites. My favorite was Pearls Before Swine.
Oh, Pearls Before
a
Swine.
bit of a
Okay,
newer
that's
one. Yeah.
that's another one of my favorites that I always gravitate to, and I'd read the paper.
I love that one. Yeah, the kind of the more smart ones. I thought.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As a 13-year-old.
Yeah. I know everything. Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Well, awesome. So your main influences are the comics. We kind of
Yes.
answered our next question with that.
Well,
and,
and anybody that we missed, or
yeah. And
we don't need to skip over.
Oh
that.
no! We'll go to the next question. So, yeah, of course, those comics were a huge influence on my art, as well as like my high school teachers, Mrs. Angerly, Mrs. Crown. I'm throwing some names out there. Yeah. Shout
give
out.
them credit.
They really taught me some good skills, how to actually have fun with art, and I started to kind of find my style. And then in college, that's when I really got to find myself. College was a humbling experience for me because coming out of high school,
Yep.
I was cocky, right? As an artist, I was like, "Yeah, give me a pencil, I could draw it," and I was confident in my ability because I could draw stuff well, very quickly, and it was okay, until I got into college and I started taking these classes, and like I was out of my league with some of these classes, and I was like, wow, I got some work to do. And one of my first professors, Trenton Baylor.
Oh, yes.
Shelby has talked about him.
Yeah, Trenton Baylor. He was the first person to kind of whip me into shape. Just kind of taught me to actually take my time and be patient with the process. Because once I did that, it was an eye opener for me to actually take my time and try to perfect the craft. And he was a huge part of that. And a couple other professors I had along the way. You know, there was the legendary David Holmes, Dennis Bayuzik taught me how to mix color. And use an airbrush, and then of course made me stay late.
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't make you stay late. After class was done, it was a night class. After class was done, he'd look at you and go like, "Are you sure you're done?"
Yeah.
And he would stay, and like me and 3 other guys would still stay there for like 2 or 3 hours afterwards. It's like midnight. We're going home. And then of course, you know, I can't forget about Lisa Bagalki.
Oh, yes.
Because Lisa Bagalki, she was my printmaking mentor. She really kind of helped me actually get into printmaking, and I think it was her passion for it is what made me fall in love with it. You know, because if you have somebody who's not into it, they're like, here, this is the art. This is how it's done.
Here's a workbook. Do worksheets.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
But she's so into it. She loves it so much, and you could tell by the way that she would teach her students and help her students and mentor. She would critique my work, make me actually challenge myself to be a better artist. And like I can't thank her enough for that. I'm being a suck up right now. I know.
She might be listening. Past guest, Lisa.
Yeah, she listens. So.
And of course, you know, one last call out here. I talked about family being a huge supporter for me. And one family member in particular, my Aunt Magda. She was my biggest supporter for both me and my brother. She loved us, everything that we did. She was so interested in all the work we wanted to do. Sadly, she lost her battle with cancer back in 2000. And one of the things that she did was she left money aside to help me and my brother pay for college. So a big part of that drive for me to continue to follow my dream and my artwork was my Aunt Magda. So like everything I do is kind of like in sort of a dedication to that. In fact, I brought a show and tell for those of you who can't see, because this is a podcast.
We will describe it well.
Yes.
The video crew isn't getting here today, I guess. This is a short children's book that I had written and illustrated called "Where Is My Toy?" This is part of my senior thesis at Parkside.
Wow.
Oh, really? Wow.
Also, yeah. Context. University of Wisconsin Parkside graduate, 2011. And it's a short children's book. Maybe there might be a few grammatical errors in there. I'm an artist, not a writer.
We're not writers either, so.
I had did this as part of my senior show. Because ultimately this is you know, something that I really enjoy doing, wanting to illustrate a children's book. So basically this book is about a dog, is modeled after my parents' dog. She has a love for her favorite toy, which is a ball, and she ends up losing it, can't find it. So along the way, she finds things that are similar but not quite what she's looking for.
Right.
Gets into some crazy antics, and she gets really sad she can't find it. And she ends up finding it right where she left it. So listen up, kids. If you can't find your toy, listen to your mom and dad. Where'd you leave it last? Because that's probably where it is.
That is a lesson for us all.
Yeah. Retrace your steps.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling on quite a bit here, but yeah, a lot of influences on my art.
Yes. That's important because I know you've gone through kind of different stages of where you are now, as most artists go through. So
Now I'm all grown up.
So, but yes, I love that, and just where you pull a lot of your work from, like for example, the boop piece of just let's break down. Yep, the boop piece. Basically, it's like the creation of David, but it's Joe on one side and then a dinosaur fossil on the other side, and but I just. You can break down those walls and kind of create fun narratives in your work. So
that one kind of describes like not only my love for art, but for dinosaurs. And for those of you who actually know me, I'm kind of a dinosaur nerd. If I wasn't wearing this Lemon Street shirt that I have on right now, it would probably be a Jurassic Park t-shirt. Just saying. And that's actually a lot of my subject matter is with dinosaurs. It's something I've always loved as a kid. So this piece kind of helps represent that of what kind of sparked that passion for me. So that me there in the spot of like Adam, I think it was a creation of Adam.
Or not Adam, not why I say David, because
David.
yeah.
Oh, I would have rolled with it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
I
creation
take the
of
place
Adam.
there, but I made that PG. There's a loincloth there,
Yes.
so
Yes, very good.
yeah.
But
Oh, that's awesome.
so fun. I love your work.
Okay, next question. Who are some of your favorite artists? And that can include like local artists. too.
Okay. So here we go. Now, of course, we talked about Bill Waderson.
Yes.
And Jim. Did I say that right? Bill Waderson or is it Waterson?
I have no idea.
Let's ask listeners.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
You're yelling at it. You're yelling it at your speaker right now.
The phone lines are on.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, there's them. They're a huge influence.
Yeah.
And all right, I'm gonna nerd myself out here some more.
Go for
so buckle up. Ron Spencer. Not sure if you've heard of that name. Not a household name, but he is a household name for Magic the Gathering.
Oh God.
Oh, 2 weeks in a row we talk about Magic the Gathering.
All right, you're welcome.
No.
So Magic the Gathering, for those of you who don't know, it's a card game. It's like a strategy card game, not Pokemon.
That is
But a little
not-
bit
nope.
different. It's a lot more on the
It's older. It's like the original one. in my
much
mind.
older,
Yeah.
much older. And I got some friends of mine who played who are probably screaming at me right now that I'm not better describing this card game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it at this. It's an awesome card game that it involves a lot of excellent artwork. Excellent artwork that's on these cards, and it's usually like mythical, like creatures, animals, like witches, sorcerers, wizards,
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
spellcasters.
Yeah, spellcasters.
There's a
And-
black flower involved.
Yeah.
That's the only one I know.
The Black Lotus.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's his only magic reference.
I made my reference. I'm spent.
Yeah.
Right. And there's an artist in particular, his name's Ron Spencer. And I was always drawn to his art because his style has such a great dynamic with light and dark. Chiaroscuro.
Oh, yes.
There's another fancy art word there for you.
Yes.
Write that one down.
Yeah,
Don't ask me how
I
to
was about to
spell
say
it. 'Cause I
Jake.
can't.
This has been Educate Jake.
Yeah.
But
Thank
no,
you.
it's such colorful prints too, such huge contrast, and all of his artwork. You could just look at it and you would know, oh, yep, that is a Ron Spencer piece. He's done a lot for Magic the Gathering, so, and that was a big thing. Like I just loved looking at his art.
Oh, well, nice.
Yeah.
As you're playing it, you're...
I was like, oh, look at this card. I'm playing this card.
I think it's easy to discount those sort of things as art. You know,
Oh, yeah.
people, yeah, because
They're all-
they're mass printed and stuff. But it's still a lot of work goes into that, and
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
and it's hugely influential, especially on young people. So,
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Here I am now.
Yeah.
I'm influenced.
boom.
Another artist that I follow, he's called Dano Art. I'm not sure if you heard of him. You'll have to check him out. He's on the Instagram. He does a lot of like abstract, goofy illustrations. Okay, kind of Mark Kissler thing coming back at us here. Maybe that's why I'm kind of drawn to this guy. But he does this where he has these short little videos, little TikTok videos on Instagram where someone will tell him, hey, draw this or draw a trash can with a face on it. And he'll do it on the fly. He uses a whiteboard, and then he'll sometimes someone will draw a funky shape, and he'll have to make something of it.
Oh, I love that.
And when it's all said and done, it's a huge collage of awesome artwork, and it's kind of goofy and zany. So that's why I like watching his artwork, because that inspires me as someone like to be an illustrator. You're given an idea or a concept, you're like, hey, make this or turn this into something. And that's always something really cool to do. And that's like a great exercise to do.
Yeah.
There's in college, when I was trying to, as part of my senior thesis, I had a sketchbook that none other than Lisa Bagulki, another shout out, that she actually made.
Oh, gotcha.
So, and as you know, she does
Bookbinding. Yes, yes.
So one of the things was I wanted to fill up every page of that sketchbook
Okay.
and have it on display. And one of them, someone's like, draw an octopus fighting a can of Mountain Dew. And I'm like, oh, that's really specific. Sure. And I did. I think that's somewhere on my online somewhere.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's why I like that there. So I know there's a lot of local artists that I could probably have a shout out. Actually, there's one right now, Jeff Kosmala, currently in the studio. These are all acrylic paintings, and I just love his style. I like these. You could look at them like really far away, and they still look really good.
Yeah.
And you could get up really close, and you could really see these intricate brush strokes.
We're sitting
really-
2 feet away from one of his pieces, if you didn't know.
Oh yeah, right on the wall here. So thank goodness it's right there because I could actually remember his name.
But he does really nice, kind of slice of life moments too. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one that struck me the most. The with the metro train going over. It's such a Kenosha scene without
Exactly.
like being explicitly so. Because like I grew up right by those train tracks, and so it's very nostalgic for me.
Yep. Same thing. As soon as I saw it, I knew exactly where that is. Right.
But
Kelly Whitty.
oh yes.
Past guest Kelly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
She was a past guest. I think she was the second. Was she on episode?
Probably
Three.
the first 5 in the first
At
5.
least,
I would
at least
say.
in the first 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. She was a Boo Boo episode.
Yeah,
that's
she's
all.
one we're gonna have back on. Kelly,
Yes.
we're gonna have you back on at some point.
If you're listening, yes. Kelly and Donovan,
And
we will
Donovan.
have you back.
We kind of had
Yes.
Donovan back on
Yeah.
already.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
We still feel bad.
So Kelly's also a Parkside alumni, and I had some classes with her, and it was kind of fun just seeing her style develop, and like her style's really cool. Now, for me personally, I'm not sure if she's gonna like this comparison or not, but like Roy Lichtenstein had that that like pop art kind of style.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about her art pieces. And there's some that she did. This was back in Parkside. She did it's called the Dinosaurs.
Oh,
series.
I
serious.
remember that.
The dinosaurs.
Yes.
And I just love those because you love the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
There's that connection. So yeah, and of course there's a lot of other local artists. I've already talked about Lisa enough.
No,
That's
yeah.
enough.
She doesn't get any more airtime. No more.
Rudbeckia Press, of
Yes.
course. I
We
love all
love
their
them.
work. I think currently she has her work at I wrote it down here, the Treasury of Glacial Landforms in Wauwatosa.
Yes. That was really fun. I went to the reception for that one. It is just seeing all that work lined up and that just rainbow of color.
Oh yeah.
And I really love her color pairings too. When she
Yes.
makes a color palette for a piece,
Yes.
she's not afraid to just be like, bam, here's the color. You're going to experience it. And here's all the textures. You're going to experience it.
Take
So,
notes.
Yes.
Take notes.
I love it.
Yeah.
But we will get back into some more artwork when we come back from this little break.
Hello, ArtSpace podcast fans. This is Joseph from Draw Joseph Studio. Most of you know who I am. I have this fabulous world-class draw studio up in Racine at the Racine Business Center, 1405 16th Street. My studio is real easy to find. It's on the first floor on the east side, right inside the tunnel. If you know the Racine Business Center, it's a big, tall brick building, and there's a big Von Schrader on the east side of the building, and the tunnel's right underneath the Von. So come in the tunnel, first studio to your right. And on every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30, the gates open up, and at 6 p.m., I have a model posing. You're invited. It's free. Tip the model. Hope to see you there.
And we're back from that break.
Yeah.
As I'm being like gestured at wildly by Shelby,
Yeah.
like because I'm
Go,
just sitting here
go.
reading the page. Sorry,
I've hit the button. Go.
like a newscaster, just not paying attention, looking down at your notes.
there may be dead air there, but
Yep.
not if our editor did a good job.
Which he always does.
Well, thanks for sticking with us, everybody. We're in the home stretch now. We're going to talk some more with Joe and learn a little bit more about him.
Let's do some more learning.
What makes you tick? So, our next question: what is your motivation to create?
What makes me tick?
Yeah.
Really, it's the followers. And lately, it really is the followers for like my my Facebook page, Instagram. It kind of helps kind of drive me and kind of fuel the artwork.
The little cheerleaders.
Right,
Yes.
right. So, and that's what kind of keeps me wanting to do more and more, because people do enjoy, seeing the process and the artwork that we create, and it continues to keep me in the studio. As difficult as it may be, to get into the studio. So, and I just try to kind of keep that goal and that dream of mine kind of just dangling in front of me.
Okay.
And every piece that I do, whether it's just a sketch or a drawing or another print or a watercolor, that's just one step further to that goal. And the goal I'm talking about is just to to become like an illustrator for children's books and so forth. And so that's what kind of keeps me motivated. I wasn't always this motivated. Yeah. The Joe you're looking at right now is not always the teacher Joe.
Okay.
So, I had graduated from Parkside in 2011. I got my bachelor's degree in the digital art field with a concentration in illustration. And of course, I had every intention on, I'm going to use this degree. I'm going to be an artist. I also like money.
Yes.
So,
Hit the brakes.
yep. So I like being able to pay my bills. So I got a full-time job, and fast forward, now it's like 12 years later, and I didn't really have much to show for it. I would have my makeshift studio at home, and I would occasionally try to doodle, but I never really had the motivation. And it was hard. It was hard to find a motivation, because in my head I was like, well, I'm working 8 or 10 hours a day.
I'm gonna come home and do art.
I'm gonna come home. I want to veg out on the couch and do nothing. And or on the weekends, I gotta mow the lawn, or there's stuff that I want to do with me and my wife. So in a sense, in my head, I kind of told myself, I'm like, well, I don't got time for it, right? And almost got to a point where all my art supplies were just collecting dust, and almost not saying I was going to get rid of them, but I'm happy I didn't, because a couple years ago, I said I wasn't going to talk about Lisa again.
No.
So Lisa and Amy had reached out and asked if
Amy Miserelli Sorensen.
Amy Miserelli Sorensen.
Yep.
They had both reached out and asked if I wanted to participate in the Full Steam Ahead event. Well, let me rephrase that. They signed me up for it. And basically, I had no choice. And I'm glad they did, because it forced me, hey, I got to do something. So it forced me to actually start to create. And the pandemic happened. And I'm like, well, we're locked down, can't go anywhere, do anything. So I started actually doing some printing at home for the first time ever. You know what I printed with to press it?
A spoon?
A rolling pin.
A rolling pin.
A rolling pin. So
A
for
mini
those of
steamroller.
you,
Yeah.
You got it. So for those of you who are wanting to print at home, this can be done with basically anything that could press. I mean, you're making a big stamp.
Yeah.
And so I started doing a little bit of that, and again, fast forward 2 more years. Now I did the Full Steam Ahead event 2 years in a row, and I love it so much. And just in this past year, I've been really wanting to take things to the next level, and now I'm here at Lemon Street teaching classes. So
Yes.
Yay.
And
Yeah.
showing some art too.
showing
So,
some art.
yes.
It's up here in the gallery.
And selling some art.
Yes. Yes.
That's the dream.
Yes.
Yes.
But I love that of kind of accepting printmaking in its many stages, because you don't have to have the fancy equipment to
Right.
do it or to start it.
Right.
You can carve potatoes and do little things like that. That's why I love this medium so much, is because there's so many levels to it that you could approach it and then level it up as you go. So it seems very approachable.
Okay.
So I was like,
Ready?
Yes.
Dumb question time.
Yes.
Okay, so you can use a rolling pin. You can
Yes.
use a steamroller.
Yes.
What's normal? What are you supposed to use to press?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
normally printmaking, or the relief printing that I do, or even intaglio printmaking, is used with an etching press.
Okay.
And this press has a large roller, which is on top of a table that can roll back and forth on bearings. And it rolls the plate and paper that's inked up through this really heavy roller, which actually presses the image. And that's traditionally how it's done. But in other traditional sense, it could be done with a baron, which is like a burnishing tool. It's pretty much like a plastic hockey puck with a handle.
Oh,
And
okay.
you could
And you're pushing down.
Just kind of you just rub it. I'm doing a rubbing motion for those of you who can't see. It's like wax
Downward.
on, wax off.
Yes.
And those are
like air hockey.
probably the most. Those are probably the most common ways. Or even a letterpress.
Okay.
Right?
You can use a spoon. You can.
You can use, but like that first thing is what most people sounds expensive. I don't know.
Yes.
It can be.
Do you do most like printmakers own one of those, or do you like I know a guy?
There are community studios that people will use and kind of team up. That's a pretty common way to get a lot of printmaking done.
Yes.
Either purchasing it yourself or community studio.
That's kind of what I thought.
Space.
Because getting a good quality press is not going to be cheap.
Right.
Oh, it's not. Nope.
But again, you don't need.
Thus the rolling pin.
You don't need,
Yep.
like thousands of dollars to buy a big press. You could just use whatever you have to press the image. Now, granted, the press is a lot nicer because when you're mass producing a lot of pieces, it's an easier, quick process versus having to do it by hand. I mean, you get really, really strong when you're trying to burnish things by hand, but.
And you have consistent pressure throughout the piece too.
Correct.
Like if you're burnishing, you can like go in overzealous in one corner, and then by the time you get to the bottom corner, you're like, my arm's tired, and then kind of have this gradient of a piece.
Yeah. So when I'm cranking out like 50 pieces for an edition I'm trying to do with a rolling pin.
Yeah.
I was kind of getting wore out.
Yeah.
So,
I had a Baron for the longest time, and I did my card series that's here finally that I got here. And I did that all with a Baron, and my forearm, it was just screaming at me, and I'm like, I need to get a press, and that's led to the mini press.
So if you want to do art and you also want to work out, but you don't have a lot of time, you should get into printmaking.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Good to know.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
A lot of moving.
A lot of jacked printmakers out there.
So
Yeah. We're just over here beefed up. Yep.
Swole.
Yes. And there's so much movement, I feel like, in this process where, like, if you have acrylic painting, you're kind of just sitting there and doing it. But you're printing, you're moving your prints that you're done with. You're clipping them to like a hanging line or something.
yes, hanging line or a drying rack or laying
Yeah.
them out on whatever.
And I think that's another thing that kind of drew me to the process too, was the movement. There's so much movement with it.
You get your steps in for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not just sitting there painting or, with pottery, we won't get into that, but pottery wheel, there's some physicalness involved,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
I love that level of movement involved. So didn't mean to derail that conversation,
No worries.
but we're going to get into our next question here. So if time and money were no object, what would your dream project be?
Well, I mean, simply put, of course, aside from illustrating a children's book that I did in college, I'd love to be able to illustrate a children's book and have it be on a shelf in the stores.
Yeah.
For me, that would be like my ultimate goal of something I would love to achieve.
You're signing
No.
autographs.
Oh,
you're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
appearance.
Yep.
whole
And I'll have to
shebang.
have like a whole security team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. Protect me from the paparazzi, like we were
Yes.
talking
Yeah,
about
like you
earlier.
were
right?
talking about. Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't have to pretend to be a different Joe Szabo.
I'll have an
Yeah.
alias.
Yes.
Now, if money was no object, it would be probably making like a kick-ass studio.
Okay.
Studio space is important. You may not have like enough space. So I've got a decent amount of space, but I'd love to have maybe something that's large enough, like, I don't know, 600-700 square feet of space where you can have maybe a drafting table or two, a couple of presses, plural,
Yes,
right?
plural.
Yeah, I'd love to get one of those,
Yes.
the old cast iron letter
Yes.
press.
That's like the Cadillac of the presses.
yeah.
And you need space for that.
Oh.
They're behemoths and they are heavy.
So you also need a forklift too.
Yeah.
or several people. But yeah, I mean, it's something like that. Being able to have that whole separate space on one would be awesome. But for right now, I mean, I got a decent setup.
Yeah, doesn't hurt to dream.
Yes.
All right, yeah, we're in the fun section, as I say, and we'll keep that rolling. What's the funniest comment you've ever heard about your art, or some funny comments?
Oh, I got a funny one. So, so I'm a listener of the podcast.
Ooh,
All right.
thank you.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
appreciate you.
So there was actually something mentioned about my artwork in episode 25.
Did I?
Episode 25.
Yeah.
Who was the
With
guest on that one?
Rudbeckia Press.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, you're returning the favor.
I am returning a favor. So, in this episode, you guys are talking about where what they do at the local art markets and what the people were wanting, and they're finding that a lot of their customers or consumers really want to have like
I know where this is
I
going.
want some Kenosha themed
Yeah.
stuff. Like where's the Kenosha stuff? So where's the lighthouse?
Yeah.
In the Kenosha lighthouse.
And I said,
So the conversation went on like, well, lighthouses are kind of been drawn out.
I just
they're
needed a
old
break.
news. We need a break from lighthouse. It's run its course, right? Right. So old news,
Yeah.
lighthouses, and then they were actually talking about the Full Steam Ahead event, and here I come walking in with the Kraken, the Kenosha Kraken, my piece where it has the Kenosha Lighthouse front and center with the Kraken behind it.
but yours
And-
is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, the lighthouses are old news, and just so happened that mine did very well.
I don't remember what I said exactly, but I want to say I stood up for the lighthouses.
You did.
At least I did in my mind.
Thank you for
If I
standing
did-
up for the lighthouse.
I like the lighthouse.
And I think you tied it into weather briefly or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's usually my MO.
But no, your approach to it was way different than like just say, oh,
Because this is not just a lighthouse
oh
picture.
no,
Like,
this is not. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with lighthouse pictures,
Yes.
I'll say again. I like the lighthouse.
I've had my break. I'm ready for
Shelby's
some-
back on Team Lighthouse.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm
Take
coming
that,
at you.
Big
More
Alkies.
lighthouses are
Yes.
coming.
Yes.
It's lighthouse time.
So I got a good laugh out of that when I was
Gotcha.
listening to the podcast.
That- but no, because yours bridges into this level of kind of surrealism with
It's so cool.
the Kraken and everything.
cool.
So I always love taking something identifiable and just turn it on its head.
Subverting it, yeah.
Amazing. So.
That's it's a fun thing. Jason Hedman does that sometimes too. The
Yeah.
piece he did for the puzzle piece exhibit we got out here
Yeah.
is similar, where
Yeah.
he takes a familiar thing, local, and subverts it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Go check it out. That installation's still up till May 28th.
Okay, so you've got like one day.
Yes, get in here.
Because this
got
is
one day.
Friday.
Oh yeah, that is Friday. Well, no, that's 2 days. You get Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, 2 whole days to come down. Come
your
on
butts in here, yeah.
Stop on by.
Drive fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, but be safe.
Yeah.
But get here fast. So, well, yeah, I'm sorry. Getting called out about the lighthouse thing. So,
Gotcha.
oops, oopsies.
We're back on Team Lighthouse.
Yeah, I'm back on Team Lighthouse.
Nah, I totally get it.
It's
I
Lighthouse
totally
summer.
get it.
It's just like when we did the community show, it was just so nice not seeing it. I was afraid that like every single piece was going to be referencing something
It's
like. But
right, because it's such an iconic
Yeah,
piece of Kenosha.
Yeah.
yeah, and then just having that show, it kind of gave me that refresh of it was selective. So then I got to kind of appreciate it a little more, get a different perspective on it, and so I am Team Lighthouse yet again.
Well,
But
the show was awesome. There was so much there that wasn't just lighthouses.
yeah, that's
Right. There wasn't just. There was some. Right. Including my piece, but there was people. There was places. There was there's I believe a streetcar.
yeah.
The rocking
Yeah,
chair.
The rocking
Yeah.
chair.
That
here.
was so fun. I loved it.
yep.
My favorite part about that was on the it said on like the feet, not what do you call it? Not the feet, the rockers, like the things that are touching the ground of the rocking chair.
Yes.
And one of them said like the Kenosha trolley, and then the other one said, actually, technically, it's a streetcar, which is so funny because in my line of work, I'm constantly correcting people. It's not a trolley; it's a streetcar.
Oh my
It has to do with the way it works.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've been calling it a trolley this entire time.
Everybody
yeah.
does. I mean,
Hey, I learned something new. Streetcar.
streetcar,
All right.
electric streetcar.
I will tell all my friends.
Gotcha. Alrighty, so moving right along.
That's our last question.
Yes, last question. So what are some of your thoughts about the local art community? Any strengths, anything you want to see happening? Anything that you feel that we need to have here?
So I think it's where I'm coming from, I see nothing but strengths. And for me, I feel like I'm still a little bit green in the art community. I'm still kind of in my rebirth, I guess. Like I talked earlier about like, I was
Your
kind of
renaissance.
like I kind of was in a slump for a while, and then I kind of had like a mini midlife crisis, and I'm
no.
like, okay, there's 24 hours in a day. What am I doing with those 24 hours? And that's when I kind of got my rear end gear and started creating. So just recently, I really starting to try to get myself a little more involved. So we're coming full circle when I originally started talking about at the beginning of the podcast about wanting to get myself more involved in the community. And it starts here
Aw.
at Lemon Street, teaching these classes, trying to get involved and be at the second Saturdays just to kind of get people in and get people more involved and in touch with our community through Lemon Street. And I know you guys are doing a lot with that, just to get like just the local people involved, even if they're not art enthusiasts. Okay, what's going on here at Lemon Street? What are some things that they could get involved in? And I know we have what's the beach theme thing we have coming up?
Beachfront Arts Fest.
Beachfront
Yes.
Arts Fest.
Yeah,
So
by Love Your Community. Shout out to you guys.
We love them.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. And that love your community, of course, was a great way to connect with the community.
Oh,
How art connects with Kenosha. So I know I've got a lot more ways to improve in terms of the art community. Oh, your guess is as good as mine.
Well, I'm glad that we can grow alongside you and have more of a relationship because not every artist is open to that. And so that was kind of like your first starting point of, I'm just getting back into this.
Yeah.
Let me connect right away. And that's a really strong first move. And I really appreciate that and the energy for that.
And when I was asked to come and hang out with you guys here, like I was really humbled. Like I was like, whoa. I'm like, are you sure?
Yes.
I don't think I'm that caliber of a person.
100%.
Yes, you are.
So yeah, I feel like I'm kind of getting myself back into it, and I'm having fun with it.
And that's a great lesson. It's like you mentioned, like art is not just for artists; it's for everyone. And we need art appreciators and people that aren't part of the art community to come on in and join us. And that's why I always say, stop on by. We want you here, and not just here, but there's so many other great art opportunities around town, regionally, and we need people, and we want you. So even if you're not an artist,
Yes. The more the merrier. There's no cap in capacity here. Just come together. That's, so awesome. There's no limits to
exactly,
what our hearts can hold for the art community.
because a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah. It does.
I haven't said that in a while. It's
Yeah,
probably been about
that sounds
5-6 episodes.
Oh my
And
goodness.
those ships are guided by what?
Oh, the lighthouse.
And attacked by a possible kraken.
Hopefully not.
And watch out for the Kraken of Lake Michigan.
Yeah,
Yes.
he'll get you.
Nab you. Get your toes.
Well, we are wrapping up our episode. Where can people find you?
So you could find me on Facebook. So it's Szabo Studio and Press. So Szabo Studio and Press is kind of the name you'll find me on my Facebook page as well as my Instagram account. Okay. So stay tuned. Currently working on my own website. So I'd like to really start selling some of my artwork, and I'm trying to get that going. So that is in the works.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the best place to find me. You'll find my work. Otherwise, you'll find me here teaching classes at Lemon Street Gallery.
Wonderful.
And yeah, if I could leave the listeners with any bit of advice, if there's anybody out there, kind of like in my shoes, where you're an artist, you love art, or you find yourself wondering whether or not like you have the time to do it, or is it worth the time? It's totally worth the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's important that you take small steps to get where you're going. And I'm really hoping that, like, you know, I can encourage people just to continue to try to just take that extra step, take that leap, and just try it. You know, whether it's coming to, you know, art events or coming to an art gallery, getting inspiration, taking the extra time. You know, maybe you are working a lot of hours, sure. Even if it's like in the morning, or instead of, you know, if you're watching your favorite show, get out a sketchbook, do a little bit of doodling. You know, that might turn into something. So
Yeah, it's like, how do you fit it in without like forcing it? Because I feel like if you force anything, you're not going to connect with it. You're not going to want to continue it, obviously. So how do you kind of passively add it into your life until you can kind of snowball it into something more? And mainly you're thinking about that big picture of like, oh, I need to be at this level right away. It's like, no. Just like podcasting, same with artwork. There's no rules.
There are no rules.
There are no rules. Just do it.
You do you.
Yes. Just you do it. I love that advice. So thank you for reminding people that wherever you are in your artistic journey, or with those negative little thoughts in your head, the little meanies, don't listen to them. And I know it's hard, but just keep going.
Yeah, keep at it.
Yeah. So, and it's a roller coaster being an artist.
absolutely it is.
Sometimes you have a bounce back and take a break, but you'll always come back. So, but yeah, and then that is about it for this episode.
Some positive vibes to round it out.
My heart
Thank you
is
so
warm.
much for having me.
Yes,
It's been fun.
Oh, it was a blast.
It's been fun.
Well,
Thank you for all you do, and
yes.
for teaching here and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate it. I couldn't let that opportunity of having that class hosted go anywhere. So, and you can always find classes on our website, thelemonstreetgallery.org. I know you have a color reductive class going on, and that is, I believe, a 3-week course or 4.
That would be, I believe this would be a 4-week course, because we got a new one. I think we're getting scheduled.
Yep.
And the reason why it's a 4-week course is because of the color reduction process. It takes time. So as you do one color, it needs to dry before you put the next. And these classes, due to time constraints, are on the weekends. So unfortunately, I mean, you know, in the perfect world, we'd be able to, with the type of ink we're using, we'd be able to do a print one day, and we could wait a day or two, and if it's dry, we could do another one. But in this case, it's the reason why it's going to be a 4-week process, because this will be a multicolor print.
Right.
So if any of you are on the fence, wondering whether or not this is for you, it's for you.
Yeah.
It's for you.
You're gonna love it.
It'll be fun seeing the process, and you don't need to be super skilled in printmaking by any means. You could be a newbie. You could also be super skilled. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just come on in, take the class, and also there's still going to be introduction classes too. So if you've been on the fence about wanting just to really learn the basics, we're still going to be adding more of those classes too.
So yeah, he's got a lot to offer. Yes.
All right.
But yeah, so check out those classes on the website and get signed up for those as they are coming up. And you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get them, you'll find us. And on those platforms, if you can leave us a review, a comment, a like, whatever.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, we want feedback. And those ratings, if you give us a 5-star rating, that'd be amazing, because that just really helps us out, get the word out there more.
I think we're worthy of 5.
Yes, I think we are.
Oh, you are. Maybe not me. I'm
No, but
3.5.
this is teamwork here, dude. All right. But yes, that would help out a lot. And then the algorithm of the tech overlords will push our podcast to more people. So
Maybe.
maybe. But hey, it's worth a shot. But yeah, if you could do that, that would be greatly appreciated. Any comments, any feedback, and you can follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, the ArtSpace Podcast, and we are Facebook, or we have a Facebook group called the Marvelous Makers and the Art Appreciators. So you could join that, hear about local events that are going on. And we also are on Instagram, the ArtSpace Pod. You can check us out there as well. And a quick little plug for the Kenosha Art Market that is
Yeah,
going to be coming
coming
up soon.
in about a month.
Yes, June 18th. So,
Less than a month.
yeah, so if you want applications, there's still time when you're hearing this. You could still submit an application. So, you could be at the market and join in on the fun.
It's going to be great.
Get involved with the community like we're talking about.
Do it.
Even
Yes.
if you don't,
Do it.
just come on by. You
Yeah.
know, stop on in
Yes, you can be an art appreciator and enjoy it.
at the market and,
Yes.
and enjoy the beautiful day in the park.
Yes, so little plug for that. We'll be plugging that all throughout the season. So love the efforts that are going on with that. And shout out to Brenna for that. But yeah, I think that's about it.
That's it.
And we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Depression, addiction, the thrill that you seek. Our restlessness cage is the fire we need. We're here to inspire.